Evening, everyone. Good evening, Dhruv sir. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. Fantastic.
Cool. So we have now, we are aware that the CAT results are out. My question to you is, before we move ahead, we have been telling that CAT has been the easiest over the past couple of years. Now, after the result, do you still think that CAT was the easiest this year?
Uh, I mean, comparable to Snap, yes, because very clearly what we see as a trend, जो हमने predict किया था पिछले बार, that see, if you remember, I had made three predictions. I had made that uh, English, because there was no theta, the percentiles will come down because of mistakes. That has exactly what has happened. Okay, if you look at the percentile versus score thing, you can see that very clearly. Even if people have attempted all the questions, but percentile versus the absolute score has come down from last year. Okay, which will practically mean that most of the people have actually committed some mistakes while attempting, thinking that they're easy questions. So
That was the reason I asked, because the number of 100 percentiler is lesser despite the fact that the paper was easier.
and
So
number of students being more. I mean,
correct. So you answered the question. So that means when it was an easy question, students have made maybe more, passive mistakes or silly mistakes.
definitely. So that the at least I am 100% sure that some of the students must have, the moment you see a happy paper, at least the students who are semi prepared would have gone berserk and
Correct.
would have created the problem. So yeah, definitely.
Correct. So what we see here is the last couple of years, in fact, the last 10 years, the registration in CAT has moved up from from 2014 to a 67.6% hike, and the actual CAT takers who appeared for the exam was around 70.55%, right? But at the same time, what we see is the increase in seats at IIMs have been 70% or more, maybe,
Correct.
which essentially means not just the increase in the seats of existing IIMs, but also the new IIMs which has come up, right? In fact, we have been talking about IIM Kamrup, which we expect that they would also start this year, right? So that was one thing. The other thing was like following the footsteps of CAT. What we see here is Zach also has set up a new record in terms of
Yes.
the highest registration. Like, from 1.35 lakh, which was last year, Zach has close to around 1.42 lakh this year. And we have spoken to Father George, Director XLRI. And what he has to say on the gaining popularity of Zach is exactly this, that our comprehensive test framework actually evaluates a wide range of skills but also open doors to 250 leading. Okay, what he mean here is the versatility of CAT is gaining more popularity for the for the MBA aspirants. So that is what Father George, Director XLI, has to say. And with this, what I would like to comment here is, maybe just because of the fact that there are more students registering, the competition would be more. That's not probably the right thing, because we have more seats, we have more B schools, and the options are also higher. And now that the CAT results are out, we have also seen the results, the number of highest percentiler in terms of 100 percentiler or 99 percentiler, and maybe it would follow the pattern, would be lesser, right? So the options are more. ZAC would be probably accepted by 250 plus B schools, and CAT would be also probably equal amount of B schools or maybe a little more. I now leave it up to you, Dhruv sir, to take us through Quant and to enhance the scores of ZAT for today.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you, Nirmal. And just to add, because I am an alumni from XLR HL, and I know and I have been in touch with Father George also, and many of the teachers now. One thing I can tell you from my personal experience is that XLRI ZAT paper, uh, I mean, obviously there is no official confirmation for it, but we have always competed with CAT in trying to make a paper which is as elite, as intellectual, as comprehensive, as skill based as CAT. I mean, we had been nowhere less, if not higher. Okay, so I mean, IIM Calcutta and XLRI has this traditional healthy rivalry that have always existed for the last 50 years, whether it is an intellectual rivalry, whether it is a sports rivalry, that's how it happens. So therefore that has always been a paper which has been in high regards among the aspirants intellectually. Some people think it is tough, okay, but it is not tough. That's what we would discuss today maybe, but it's not really tough per se tough. It is a paper which challenges you to be a future business school aspirant.
I'm sure Father George would be very happy to hear this. Maybe we should send him this clip, this part of the clip. Yes, you rightly said. See, in Eastern region, these were the two B schools primarily. If I'm not wrong, XLRI was founded in 1949, I guess, right?
Yes, yes,
And IIM Calcutta came around 1961,
must be.
right? So these
Yes,
are the two oldest B schools of India, and they have been in Eastern region, and they have been probably challenging the rest of the country in terms of the quality and the intellectual property and whatsoever. So I have no doubt that as far as intellectual thing is concerned, that is equally good, or maybe they are comparing to each other. The point here is, it is of course a very good thing for the students to have that there's a gap between ZAT and CAT, and if for some reason CAT goes not that great,
absolutely.
there's a
Yes,
backup to follow up. Thanks,
correct.
Rosa, and let's continue with it. We are looking forward to another great session from you.
Sure. Thank you. All right. Fine. So now that CAT results are out and everybody is either very happy or very sad, or whatever that situation is, the good news for the day is that you have got approximately 20 days more for that. Okay, now 15 days, I'll say 15 days more for that. But yeah, the practical thing about that is that uh, the debate that I want to clear today is whether that is an easy paper, tough paper, how does it look, and so on and so forth. uh, so what we are going to do today is, for the first part of the thing, I will concentrate mainly on the quant part, and then I will give you an overall strategy as to how to deal with it throughout. Okay, now let's first of all concentrate on what we already know, and this is, I have taken a screenshot from the official XAT website, and this is what we know. We had discussed that earlier also. Let's discuss this in a little bit more detail. uh, we will not know the exact number of questions that will come in the paper, and the number of questions in each section, till the time we reach to the XAT exam hall. So very clearly what we have to deal with right now is that verbal ability and logical reasoning, we have got 26 questions, decision making approximately 21 questions, and quantitative aptitude and data interpretation approximately 28 questions. Now one very important change that has happened this year in XAT, and I am sure people will know, is that last year that used to be around 175 minutes of paper followed by 30 minutes of essay and GK. This year the essay part has been shifted to the GDPI stage. So you have got, after 175 70 minutes, you have got 20 questions. Okay, so that's the part two part of that. That's what we already know. uh, I don't foresee very much variance from the number of questions that has been mentioned here, that is 26 questions, 21 questions, and 28 questions. uh, but yes, I mean, you can definitely expect it to be, let's say, let's 24, 27, or 20, 19, something like that. But yeah, otherwise I don't foresee much of a thing. Now one thing for sure, and be very careful about that, I want to insist on the fact, I hope people have written enough number of XAT mocks till now, रिमाइंडिंग यू, थोड़ा सा बैड हैबिट हो सकता है, बट पिछले 4-5 साल से हम लोग सिर्फ एक यही पेपर लिख रहे जो ऑलमोस्ट 3 घंटे का है, right? CAT, since COVID has happened, has become 2 hours. IFT is vanished. Snap is a 1 hour paper. So, with that kept in mind, क्योंकि हम लोग बहुत ज्यादा मॉक कैट्स लिखते हैं और बहुत ज्यादा मॉक एनमैट्स और मॉक स्नैप लिखते हैं, दैट इज वन पेपर जो हम लोग बहुत ज्यादा लिखते नहीं है, और वो 3 घंटा कंप्यूटर के सामने बैठे रहना मजाक की बात नहीं है. ओके, टाइम मैनेजमेंट बहुत बहुत इजी नहीं होगा. सो वन थिंग दैट आई वुड लाइक टू इंसिस्ट इज, अभी भी आपके पास 10-15 दिन है, make sure you write enough number of mock zats. If not anything else, it is about sitting in front of the computer for 180 minutes. Okay, 180 minutes sitting in front of the computer, maintaining calm, maintaining composure, maintaining the sensibility part of it is not going to be easy. Okay, so this is something which I insist people would need to do. Another important thing which, now you know, because you have obviously you must have studied for ZAT by now, is though they have 170 minutes, but it's a computer based test, which will mean that there are no sectional time limits. Okay, so during this 170 minutes, you can do verbal question, you can go to the decision making section, do 3 questions of that. Don't do that. Don't do that. But all I'm saying is you can roam throughout the sections, and therefore make time for any questions here and there. So we'll need to plan out some strategy, ताकि हम लोग सब कुछ करें. So now let's look about some facts and figures. First of all, that had been very unpredictable, and I'm going ahead and telling you that more than cat. Okay, it has been unpredictable more than cat. अब अगर आप पूछेंगे मुझे कि is there any benchmark or parameter ताकि मैं आपको बता सकूं कि कितना unpredictable है, I don't know the answer, but yes, it had been unpredictable more than cat. It has shown different difficulty levels. It has shown different new type of questions. Decision making is something which makes it very very unique. So you can expect some unpredictability. Okay, you by now should be ready with the word unpredictability in everything in your life. You're going to be a business school aspirant, so that's how it is. There is no sectional time limits, but one thing that is very very important, and that is especially for XLRI, is there are strict sectional cutoffs. Strict, I mean it very very strict. They are not liberal at all. Even if you have crossed the overall cutoff by, let's say, 10 marks or 20 marks, if you miss one sectional cutoff even by 0.5 marks, you will not be called by XLRI. Okay, you will not be called by XLRI. They I mean they're merciless in that. Okay, we have seen year on year that people have scored 99 percentile, 99.99 percentile, but they are less than 90 percentile in any of the sections, and you are not called. Okay, so we have to get some sectional marks. Okay, how much is that marks? I'm coming to that in the subsequent part of the presentation, but you have to cross sectional cutoffs. Okay, how do I ensure that? We will discuss that as we move on, but let's start with the most feared section, that is the quant and the DI section. Okay, now first thing first, this is the only paper where I mean snap is a 1 hour paper, so I don't want to take it forward, because if you remember we talked about snap and I said that बहुत ज्यादा स्ट्रैटेजी करने का जरूरत नहीं है, क्योंकि शुरू होने से पहले पेपर खत्म हो जाता है, प्लस सेक्शनल कट ऑफ नहीं था. ओके, लेकिन फॉर दैट quant and DI section, it will have sectional cutoffs. This is also the first time wherein a substantial number of quant question and a substantial number of DI questions will be there. Okay, for example, last year there were approximately 22-23 questions there, and around 15 to 16 questions were quant and around 8 questions were DI. Okay, there is no subsectional cutoff that we know of for quant and DI. I'll come back to that. But what I can also tell you, going by last 25 years of data, is I have never seen a very easy or a easy quant and DI section of XLRI. Never ever. Okay, they'll be moderate to difficult. Okay, if it comes very easy this year, I'll be very happy with the change, because CAT was very easy this year. However, I don't expect it. Okay, so I'm going ahead and sticking my neck out and going to say that, it is not going to be a very easy to easy paper, very, very unlikely. Another thing that I have seen over the years is that modern maths, that is coordinate geometry, special equations, that is when I say special equation, I mean integral solutions, or uh, linear equations, where you don't have to you cannot solve it by just solving the equations. You might need to understand some extra conditions, number of integer solutions, special integer solutions, etc. Modulus and inequality, permutation, combination, these are some of the things that had been almost confirmed in the XAT paper. Now, I'm not necessarily saying these will be the only questions in the paper. You will get questions from numbers. You might get questions from percentage, profit and loss, averages, time and work, time and distance. Okay, but जैसे इस बार CAT में हुआ, the majority was arithmetic. That is something which is going to be unlikely in XAT. My guess is that if there are 20 to 23 questions in the quant section, uh, I'll be assuming that it will be fairly distributed among the full syllabus. Okay, so you'll get enough questions of algebra, enough questions of arithmetic, enough questions of geometry, enough questions of permutation, combination, or modern maths, and etc. So uh, if the questions look tough, don't get demotivated. Most of the questions are actually moderate difficulty level. Okay, I know that is Badnam as a very tough paper. It is not. I insist. Don't go by the looks of the question. Go through it, start solving it, make a roadmap, and you will be able to see that most of the questions are not difficult. Okay. However, it is easy to get demotivated, and that is why the last sentence, that don't get demotivated by the looks of the question. Uh, till the time you start solving it, see to the questions, choose the right questions, it will not be difficult. And therefore, what do I suggest as a strategy? Uh, Very clearly, the section has a sectional cutoff, but there is no subsectional cutoff for quant and DI. Okay. Now, what it means is that if you are not comfortable with some chapters of quant, you can still take help of DI. Okay. The calculation based DI, you can start doing it. Okay. Similarly, if you are not comfortable with reasoning based DI, you can actually come back to quant and solve geometry. So what it fundamentally means is, this is the first time that you will have the comfort of going to DI if you cannot solve quant, and vice versa. And obviously, to clear the cutoff, you can take help of both. Okay, data sufficiency is something which has been also coming in XAT, and therefore I would strongly recommend that you also get comfortable with the algorithm of data sufficiency. That is, the first statement is sufficient, the second statement is sufficient, both are sufficient, none of them combined are sufficient, and there is a proper algorithm for it. Usko bhi aap thoda sa revise kar lijiye, because data sufficiency questions are mostly standalone questions, and therefore take less amount of time and can be quickly answered. ओके, तो ये थोड़ा सा जो है, ये थोड़ा तैयारी जरूर कर लीजिएगा. आई इंसिस्ट दैट यू नीड टू हैव पेशेंस इन द क्वांट एंड द डीआई सेक्शन. एज आई सेड, हो सकता है पहला 2-3 क्वेश्चन आपसे बिल्कुल समझ में ना आए या ना हो, बट कीप at least 2.5 minutes into total number of questions, which will practically mean that if you are getting around 20 questions, I insist that you will need to keep around 45 to 50 minutes for the section. Okay, don't run away from the section in 30 minutes. You will miss sectional cutoff. Don't get frustrated by saying kuch bhi nahi ho raha hai, 30 minutes ho gaye, let me run away from it. It is not going to happen. Okay, you have to give proper time to that section. So In fact, none of the sections you should give less than 45 to 50 minutes. I'll come back to that in a short while. But please give yourself proper time in this section. We tend to run away and maximize the score. That will not help in XLRI. I cannot comment on that score being used for, let's say, Great Lakes or any other B school. But for XLRI, if you miss the sectional cutoffs, you will not be taken. So therefore, you need to give proper time to this section. Okay. Also, very unlike me, till now, for every of the exam, I have been talking about shortcuts, mental calculations, etc. यहाँ पे बहुत ज्यादा टेंशन मत लीजिए. अगर शॉर्टकट फिगर आउट नहीं हो रहे हैं तो go with the flow, start solving with the equations. Use the calculator for complex looking calculations. That has already confirmed that there will be a scientific calculator that will be available as a on-screen calculator this time for the XAT experience, and therefore use the calculator for complex looking calculation or close options. That is perfectly all right. Okay, कोई खास टेंशन नहीं है. ठीक है. Remember, I repeat and reiterate, this is a stark difference from what I generally say about business school entrance exams. Business school entrance exam में मैं हमेशा बोलता हूँ कि mental calculations practice करना चाहिए, option से कीजिए, अप्रोक्सीमेशन कीजिए, दिस दैट एंड एटसेट्रा. यहाँ पे मैं डिफरेंट नहीं बोल रहा हूं. ऑब्वियसली अगर आप मेंटल कैलकुलेशन करके कर सकते हो बहुत अच्छी बात है, अगर आप ऑप्शन से कर सकते हो बहुत अच्छी बात है, लेकिन अगर आप नहीं कर पा रहे हो, इंस्टेड ऑफ गेटिंग फ्रस्ट्रेटेड एंड लिविंग दिस सेक्शन, प्लीज start solving it from options. Please use the calculator. That is perfectly all right. Okay. The reasoning behind it is there is a thin chance that you will not get a very easy looking quant and DI, and therefore when you start solving it, and since there are no sectional time limits, you see that half an hour is gone and the number of attempts is less. You get frustrated and you go and run to decision making and start solving it, and decision making solve hota rahega. We will talk about it. So you maximize your timing in decision making in English and forget about quant and DI, and that is going to be a disaster. Even if your marks are very high, this is not going to help you. Okay. So you should give enough time to this section. Give yourself 45 to 50 minutes at least to this section. How to distribute the time, I'll just come. And therefore make sure that अगर आपसे क्वेश्चन मेंटली कैलकुलेशंस नहीं हो रहे हैं एटसेट्रा, शॉर्टकट्स को भूल जाइए, सॉल्व कीजिए पेपर, क्वेश्चन के साथ सॉल्व कीजिए, फ्लो के साथ सॉल्व कीजिए, कैलकुलेटर लगा के सॉल्व कीजिए, बट सॉल्व कीजिए जितना हो सकता है, सॉल्व कीजिए. 50 मिनट से पहले, 45 मिनट से पहले आप उस सेक्शन को नहीं छोड़ सकते. Okay. Now here is the strategy that I wanted to talk about, which I had said something similar in CAT as well. What I am saying is that आप 5 क्वेश्चन क्वांट का लीजिए, एक सेट DI का लीजिए और फिर कंपेयर कीजिए. ठीक है. सो कहने का मतलब ये है कि मैं अगर बोल रहा हूं कि मैं 45 मिनट्स दूंगा क्वांट सेक्शन को, तो क्वांट सेक्शन को आप 12 से 15 मिनट के करीब करीब आप मान लीजिए 3 हिस्सों में बांट लीजिए, 3 टाइम जोन्स of 12 to 15 minutes each, and in each of the time zones, the first 2 to 3 minutes you see 5 questions of quant and 1 set of DI. When I mean 1 set of DI, I mean look at the data. ठीक है. और इनमें से जो इजी लगे उसको कीजिए. ठीक है. कहने का मतलब ये है कि अगर क्वांट नहीं हो रहा है तो कम से कम DI हो, अगर DI नहीं हो रहा है तो कम से कम क्वांट हो. You should not finish all quant question before you see the DI question. That is not going to help. ठीक है. हमें कट ऑफ चाहिए, और चाहे क्वांट से आए चाहे DI से आए, बट वो सेक्शनल कट ऑफ चाहिए. तो अनलाइक कैट, जहां पे ऑब्वियसली द क्वांट सेक्शन वाज डिफरेंट देन द LRDI सेक्शन, यहाँ पे आप 5 क्वांट क्वेश्चन देखिए. अब वो 5 है कि 4 है वो आप डिसाइड कर लीजिए, क्योंकि हमें देखना सारे क्वेश्चन है. दैट इज द होल आइडिया. आई जनरली सजेस्ट 5 क्वांट क्वेश्चन देखिए, एक सेट DI का देखिए. बेसिकली आपको 5 क्वांट क्वेश्चन और एक टेबल या एक इंफॉर्मेशन, एक डेटा सेट आपको दिख जाएगा. जो आपको इजी लगे उनमें से उसको कीजिए और अप्रोक्सीमेटली उसमें बाकी के 10 मिनट 12 मिनट लगाइए. नो व्हाट इट विल मीन इज दैट आपको 5 क्वांट क्वेश्चन अगर इजी नहीं लगा लेकिन डीआई वाला सेट इजी लगा, तो एटलीस्ट यू स्टार्ट विद द डीआई सेट, डू दी 4 क्वेश्चंस इन 12 मिनट्स, दैट शुड बी गुड इनफ. ओके, तो दैट्स हाउ यू डू इट. अगर आपको ऐसा नहीं लग रहा है कि डीआई सेट तो होगा नहीं, तो वो 5 क्वेश्चन पे आप टाइम लगाइए. ट्राई टू डू एटलीस्ट 5 क्वेश्चंस आउट ऑफ 4. स्पेंड योर सेल्फ 12 to 15 minutes. जल्दी हो जाता है तो बहुत अच्छी बात है. Otherwise, spend 12 to 15 minutes. Try to solve 3 to 5 questions, whatever you can do. That is good enough. Okay, that is how you go ahead. Overall, it seems that approximately 50% of the questions being correct. Okay, if I look at the last few years, seems to score more than 95%. Okay, which will mean that if you are able to do approximately 40% of the questions, which is practically 8 to 10 questions out of 22 to 23 correctly, then it is good enough. Okay, which will mean that अगर आप वो 3 टाइम जोन्स का बात हम लोग कर रहे हैं, तो हर टाइम जोन से अगर आप approximately 3 to 4 क्वेश्चंस कर पाते हैं, ठीक है, तो then it is good enough. Okay, now this strategy does not work if you start feeling that the paper is very very easy. Then to obviously you do all the 5 questions and then you do 15 questions, but then the disclaimer is that you are able to do these questions. Okay, अगर आपसे क्वेश्चन नहीं हो रहे या कहीं पे आप अटक जा रहे हो, तो 3 क्वेश्चन अटेम्प्ट कीजिए, 3 जोन से approximately 9 to 10 questions. That should be good enough to give you approximately 95 percentile if you are doing them correctly. Okay, my guess is that approximately 10 attempts, this is with the assumption that they will be 1-2 question plus minus from the number of questions they have mentioned in the in the official document. Okay, approximately 10 questions with an 80% accuracy rate, which will mean that approximately 8 right and 2 wrong, okay, should be comfortably clearing the sectional cutoff and should be giving you approximately 95 percentile plus overall in that section. Okay, now remember all of these are with a disclaimer. If the paper is easy, then obviously we'll need to do more questions. If the paper is tough, it might come down. There has been that paper where just doing about 6 questions also could have given you 95 percentile. Okay, I'm just sharing with you simple data and statistics, which uh, don't take it as a prediction. Obviously you'll have to apply your matured mind during the exam, but yes, this more or less seems to be giving you approximately 95 percentile in this section. Okay, remember one thing, sectional cutoffs will definitely not be less than 90 percentile for BM and 87.5 percentile for HRM. Okay, the regular program will not have a sectional cutoff of less than 90 percentile, which will mean that if we are looking at like approximately 10 questions, if your accuracy rate is not good and you'll end up doing 5 right and 5 wrong, then you will be in trouble in the sectional cutoff part. Okay, they are, as I said, they are absolutely strict about sectional cutoffs. ओके, तो यहाँ पे एक्यूरेसी मेंटेन करना थोड़ा जरूरी है, एक्यूरेसी पे जरूर ध्यान दीजिए. एक्यूरेसी ओवर अटेम्प्ट्स, यू शुड कॉन्सेंट्रेट ऑन एक्यूरेसी ओवर अटेम्प्ट्स. जो क्वेश्चन कर रहे हैं उसको करेक्ट करने का कोशिश कीजिए, ना कि नंबर ऑफ अटेम्प्ट्स बढ़ाना. ठीक है, व्हिच इज व्हाई प्लीज अंडरस्टैंड दैट इफ यू डू योर पार्ट ऑफ द कैलकुलेशन, मैंने बोला है 12 से 15 मिनट टाइम देना है, 2 मिनट आपको खाली 5 क्वेश्चन और एक डीआई सेट देखना है. ठीक है, जस्ट कंपेयर करने के लिए. एंड देन व्हेन यू स्टार्ट, यू हैव अप्रोक्सीमेटली 10 to 12 minutes per time zone, and I am only suggesting 3 to 4 questions, which will mean that you are approximately getting 2.5 to 3 minutes per question. वो कम नहीं होता. तो मैं तो शॉर्टकट का सजेस्ट ही नहीं कर रहा हूँ, मेंटल कैलकुलेशन सजेस्ट ही नहीं कर रहा हूँ. आप आराम से 2-3 मिनट भी अगर एक क्वेश्चन में लगाएंगे तब भी आपका क्वेश्चन होने लगेगा. ठीक है, सो बी मेच्योर्ड, बी काम, and my guess is that the quant section you will be easily be able to get the requisite percentiles and the high percentiles. Okay, now decision making, interestingly enough, if you look at last few years, almost 60% of the students have attempted all the questions of decision making, all of it. ठीक है, वो सारे सारे 20 क्वेश्चंस करके आ जाते हैं बच्चे, because this does not require high vocab, this does not require formula, this is almost like case studies and something that is happening in your day to day life, very lucrative to answer. The passages, you understand very very quickly. ठीक है, तो this is the most attempted section of XLRI Z. ठीक है, what people tend to ignore is that some of the options are close and subjective. Okay, it will depend on your upbringing, it will depend on your value system. Okay, and therefore if you are not playing with modern 21st century ethics, uh, it will be difficult. And uh, without any stigma attached, if you had a slightly rural background, okay, rural upbringing, and you think that your thought process might be slightly parochial, might be not the 21st century, slightly urban modern ethics system, for example, your views about women's role, or your views about what is the correct culture in Indian society and etc. My strong recommendation will be, please अंधाधुन मार्क मत कीजिए. ठीक है, your value system, and trust me, I am not at all vilifying your thought process. All I am saying is that XLRI is a modern institution, very much modern, very much 21st century institute, uh, one of the most liberal institutes that I have seen in my life. So therefore, when we are talking about that, and its value system does not match with your value system, there will be a conflict in terms of what is getting the right answer. Okay, some of the options will be very very close, and whenever you are stuck with two options, okay, you have to decide on what is a priority, okay, as a tiebreaker. So if two options you are not being able to differentiate, then you'll have to decide which one will be a priority. Should I do this first or that first? Okay, these are the things that you should take into account. uh, कोई खास क्वेश्चन सिलेक्शन करने का यहाँ पे जरूरत नहीं है, आपको सारे के सारे क्वेश्चंस पढ़ने हैं, आपको सारे के सारे क्वेश्चंस उसमें एटलीस्ट द रीडिंग पार्ट ऑफ इट, yes, you should definitely do. There can be some process based questions which are based on simple grammar rules, like if then what happens, what is a inferred conclusion, data versus stereotyping, and so on and so forth. But other than that, I don't really suggest that you should do question selection here. Keep on reading the questions. You should definitely read all the questions, and whatever questions which are very clear in your mind, you should definitely mark. Okay, 45 minutes should be good for approximately 20 questions. You don't require more than that. And uh, I strongly recommend, unless and until you are 100% sure, don't attempt all the questions. At least leave out those where you have even 2% or 3% doubt. Leave out those questions. Okay, थोड़ा मुश्किल हो सकता है. 80% attempt with 80% accuracy seems to be 95 percentile in decision making section of that. Okay, so what we are fundamentally saying is that keep attempts are somewhere around 15-16 questions. If you are able to maintain good accuracy, this section of the paper should not be tough to clear sectional cutoff. This is undoubtedly one of the most scoring sections of that. Okay, verbal sections, I'm sure Avilasha ma'am has already given you a lot of strategy. I will not spend too much time on that. But yeah, focus on the standalone questions first over RC. The standalone question should be finished quickly because they take less time, leaves you with a lot of time to think about and read the RCs comprehensively with attention and etc. Uh, yes, CAT days are over. Snap and Mat, I'm sure you had read sentence correction, vocabulary, and etc. If it is your strong area, definitely you should attempt. But if it is not your strong area, don't attempt if not sure. Okay. RCs may have close options. Unless and until you have been able to reduce to at least two options, you should not attempt it. Okay. Verbal section, I'm sure again Avilasha ma'am had given you ideas, but approximately 70% attempts with 80% accuracy rate seems to be approximately 95 percentile, uh, which will again practically mean approximately 14 to 15 questions attempted, 16 questions attempted, and at least 13 14 of them to be right. That will be a good idea. Okay, now I repeat and reiterate, and that is very very important. Please do not spend in any of these sections less than 45 minutes. Okay, if you are being able to complete a section in less than 45 minutes, I will be worried. Okay, and I am not denying it. Let me play the devil's advocate. But if you think that verbal section 45 minutes से पहले खत्म हो गया, I would rather suggest that you revise some of the questions. Okay, or if you think that 40 minutes में decision making खत्म हो गया, क्वांट नहीं होगा, but decision making अगर आपका 40 minutes में खत्म हो जाता है, I would strongly recommend that you revise some of the questions to think that whether there can be a different answer or something like that. Okay, sectional cutoffs are a must. Okay, so that is where this comes, and that is where comes my last part of the strategy, which is जो ऑफिशियल डॉक्यूमेंट में क्वेश्चन सजेस्टेड है, नंबर ऑफ क्वेश्चंस, वो अगर उतने ही है मोर और लेस, देन my strong recommendation will be give at least 45 minutes to each of the three sections first. Now I am not going ahead with which section to be attempted first. That depends on you. ठीक है, अगर I have always said that there are two different schools of thought कि मैं पहले मेरा जो वीक सेक्शन है उसको पहले कर लेता हूँ फ्रेश माइंड से, ताकि आई अटेम्प्ट इट वेल, और उसके बाद स्ट्रॉन्ग सेक्शन करता हूँ. देयर आर सम पीपल हु थिंक्स द अदर वे अराउंड कि पहले मैं स्ट्रॉन्ग सेक्शन कर लेता हूँ, अच्छे नंबर आ जाएंगे, वीक सेक्शन में लास्ट में जाऊंगा, तब तक ठीक है, आई विल बी हाई ऑन कॉन्फिडेंस. Both of them are very very good. I leave it up to you, you decide, but I am insisting on this that this is very very important. Give approximately 45 to 50 minutes for each of the three sections first. Okay, nothing less than that. 45 minutes is the lower cutoff. ओके, 45 मिनट से कम अगर आप जैट में तीनों सेक्शन में से कोई एक सेक्शन खत्म कर पा रहे हो, unless and until you are a very very intelligent genius type of a student, I will be worried about your accuracy rate. ओके, तो 45 मिनट्स कम से कम एक सेक्शन को दीजिए. हाँ, 45 इंटू 45 45 90 प्लस 45 135, आपके पास फिर भी अप्रोक्सीमेटली 30 टू 35 मिनट्स होगा. मैंने 25 टू 30 मिनट्स इसलिए लिखा है क्योंकि टाइम मैनेजमेंट का चक्कर है. बहुत लोग 45 की जगह 55 दे देंगे, कोई 45 मतलब 50 मिनट्स रखेगा, etc etc. So I am just saying that 25 to 30 minutes, but my guess is approximately 35 minutes should be still available. Okay, now you decide to maximize your score. Okay, now you decide to maximize your score, and therefore I suggest two strong approaches in that. If in 45 minutes you think that एक section में sectional cutoff का tension हो सकता है, I would suggest that you go to that section which is the weekend section and spend the rest of the 20 minutes there. Okay, on the other hand, if you think that 45 minutes have done well, I have been able to solve approximately 12 to 15 questions in quant, approximately 16 to 17 questions in DM, approximately 15 to 16 questions in English, I will suggest that ठीक है, now you decide to maximize your score. तो therefore अगर आपको लगता है कि इंग्लिश मेरा स्ट्रॉन्गेस्ट एरिया है, जाओ जाके बाकी क्वेश्चन अटेम्प्ट कर दो. या आपको लगता है कि डिसीजन मेकिंग में और हो सकता था, वहां पे डिसीजन मेकिंग में जाइए और बाकी 20 मिनट लगाइए. ठीक है, तब मुझे कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं है. पर मेरा प्रॉब्लम तब होगा, आई रिपीट एंड रिटरेट, कि मेरा प्रॉब्लम तब है जब आप किसी भी सेक्शन को 45 मिनट्स के नीचे छोड़ देते हो. ठीक है, देन यू रन ए वेरी वेरी हाई रिस्क ऑफ मिसिंग सेक्शनल कट ऑफ. ओके, तो 45 टू 50 मिनट्स दीजिए, 170 मिनट्स का विंडो है, आपके पास एटलीस्ट 25 टू 30 मिनट्स लास्ट में बचेगा. अगर आपको लगता है किसी सेक्शन में उतना मिनट्स देने के बावजूद आप सेक्शनल कट ऑफ मिस कर जाओगे, तो उस सेक्शन में चले जाइए, बाकी उसमें मिनट्स लगाइए. ठीक है, अगर ऐसा नहीं है, अगर आपको लगता है आप you have done fairly, and therefore now we should maximize your score, go to the strongest section, try it out, do all questions of DM, I don't mind. Okay, do all questions of DM, that is perfectly all right. Okay, but that is with the good news that you have been able to do a substantial number of questions in that section. Okay, only then you should deploy that to the strongest section to maximize your score. Don't be desperate, don't overdo any section, फालतू के मार्क मत कीजिएगा, खाली पीली हीरो बनने का जरूरत नहीं है. If you have not been able to understand the question, then you don't have to mark. Okay, don't do that. Negative marking is real. You don't have to really do that. Now regarding progressive negative marking, okay, that sometimes, not always, in few of the years they have mentioned that for the first 8 questions going wrong, the negative marking is 0.25. Then you do an extra negative marking if the number of questions is more than 8 in a section or something like that. uh, I would rather skip a question than mark. Even if the progressive negative marking is very, very less, I don't think you should mark berserk. Not attempting is still better than doing a question wrong. It is still a negative marking. Okay, so anytime if you are not being able to do a question, if you have no clue, the idea should be that you should not attempt that question. Okay, that is always there. However, as I say, don't be desperate, have faith in yourself. Remember, these sessions are always with the assumption that you have prepared well, you have confidence in yourself, you have given enough mocks, you have deployed the time management strategies that we are talking about. Only then the whole things make sense. Okay, so it is important that you take care of that. प्रोग्रेसिव नेगेटिव मार्किंग से मत डरिए. प्रोग्रेसिव नेगेटिव मार्किंग थोड़ा सा कॉम्प्लेक्स है, उतना समझने का जरूरत भी नहीं है. They have talked something about it, but yeah, I mean, anytime not attempting the question is far more fruitful than progressive negative marking. Now, if there is a negative marking for unattempted questions, जो भी एक्सेलर में कभी कभार ट्राई किया गया है कि इफ देयर इज समथिंग कॉल्ड if you leave at 10 questions, then you will get a negative marking of 0.001 or something like that. I am 100% sure that the negative marking for not attempting a question will be far, far less than the penalty that you face to do it wrong. And therefore, any whichever way, not attempting the question is better than attempting it wrong. So therefore, that strategy does not change whether there is any change in the negative marking process that you face when you see the paper. Okay, so if there is any change in that, don't get unduly worried. ये पहले हो चुका है ZAT में, इसलिए मैं just word of caution छोड़ दे रहा हूँ that even if there is some sentences like for every 10 questions that you leave there is a negative marking or something like that, I don't think you should worry about it at all. Okay, the last part of the paper, that is the part 2, which is GK. Now the question that I have faced from my students is कितना GK पढ़े, क्या पढ़े, ठीक है, how much can we read, what can we do, कितना important है, is it required for the exam, what if I score 0, and etc etc. I don't know exactly how XLRI uses it. Okay, so I cannot comment on that. It's an internal decision which I'm sure the XLRI management will know, and that chosen not to answer it. But the official stand in this from XLRI is that they use it for the XLRI selection process, and therefore it must be important. Okay, so one thing that I definitely would not recommend is ignoring it. It's a part of the exam, you should take it seriously. Okay, all we know is that out of the 20 questions, 12 questions are of current affairs. So even if you are not very comfortable with static GK, even if you are not very comfortable with कि हिस्ट्री में क्या हुआ था, ज्योग्राफी के क्या ज्योग्राफी सब्जेक्ट में क्या हुआ था, या कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन में क्या हुआ था, at least read news from 1st of January to 30th of November. They have said that 12 questions will be from current affairs. So therefore, uh, any major event that has happened, the elections this year, Manipur riots, uh, uh, the awards and rewards that has happened this year, political news, business news, mergers and acquisitions that has happened this year, mergers and acquisitions that have fallen this year. Okay, these are some of the things you should definitely read. Okay, current affairs, anything that you can grab, you should definitely read current affairs. 12 क्वेश्चन आते हैं current affairs के. We don't know sectional cutoff for this. We don't. There is no much clarity on if there is negative marking in this. Uh, there is a negative marking we know for the part one. It is slightly vague and hazy whether the part two has negative marking. You definitely don't mark all. You don't do random guesses and etc. Mark as many as you know. Take intelligent guesses. My guess is out of the 12 questions of current affairs, you should be definitely be able to do at least 4. Okay, if you are a well aware student, of course. So therefore, do you need to study GK for XLRI? If you are running short of time, then yes, current affairs कहीं से भी एक compendium उठा लीजिए, whether it is Manorama Yearbook or whether it is the websites that give you current affairs and GK questions and etc. If you are associated with the coaching institute or Campus Sutra giving you some GK module, definitely go through them. But yes, these 12 questions of current affairs, you should be definitely be able to do at least 4 of them. We have seen year on year that 4 to 5 questions are easy to answer. Okay, so I don't think that you should ignore it. XLRI definitely uses it as a part of selection process. There is a high possibility that other associated institutes like XIM Bhubaneswar or Goa Institute of Management may also use it as a part of their selection process. Uh, no denying it. So I think you should definitely study a little bit. Anyway, now that CAT results are out, shortlists will be coming. You anyway have to prepare for your PDP, GDPI process and etc. So I strongly recommend that GK का जो part है, जो 20 questions है, आपको attempt करना चाहिए, आपको पढ़ना चाहिए, पढ़ के जाइए, आपके पास time है अभी 10-15 दिन. Read पुराने news, pick up any app. I'm sure mobile phone is now a treasure trove of information. So 1st January से 30th of November, I will not say December, but 1st January से 30th of November तक के न्यूज आप जरूर पढ़ सकते हो. ठीक है, दिसंबर के न्यूज आप पढ़ सकते हो, मैं मना नहीं कर रहा हूँ. ऑब्वियसली यू विल रीड द न्यूज़पेपर एवरी डे, डाउनलोड एन ऐप, read it. But my guess is that if you read from 1st of January to 30th of November, you should be able to do a substantial number of questions of GK. Okay, this is not a part of the main score. I know for sure that uh, it may not be used for the shortlisting candidates for the GDPI process. But as I said, the official stance that has been always used, and it is mentioned on the website, that this score is used for XLRI selection process. So if you are actually aiming for XLRI, then you should definitely not ignore it and do it well. Okay, so overall, if I can talk about the first 170 minutes, do not give less than 45 minutes in any of the 3 sections. Divide your time. It can be 50 minutes for one section, but not less than 45. First give that, spend approximately 140, 135, 140 minutes with equal time in each of the sections. Try to do as many questions as possible. Do not try any adventure during that time. Become apprehensive if you think that the questions are very easy and you are able to do or finish the questions before 45 minutes. If you are doing that, I would strongly recommend that 45 minutes तक उस section को पढ़िए, revise कीजिए, loopholes ढूंढिए, convince कीजिए अपने आप को that you are doing the right thing. Okay, but not less than 45 minutes in any section. Whatever time will be left after that, which my guess will be approximately 20 minutes to 30 minutes, uh, depending on the situation that you have, you can decide how to utilize those 20 minutes. If you have done fairly well in each of the three sections, then maximize your score in your strongest section. If you think that any of the sections is still weak and you have not been able to attempt 50% of the questions, then go back to that section, try to ensure that you get sectional cutoffs, even if you have done the other two sections well and you think that you can maximize your score. That's all about XLRI that you need to keep in mind, that you need to keep in mind. Now, last but not the least thing before Nirmal comes over is make sure that you give enough mocks and you practice. Okay, if you are not practicing, uh, this 3 hours is going to be difficult to sustain. Okay, so make sure that you sit in front of the computer, uh, give enough amount of time, try them out, only then it you will be able to be comfortable giving these ad papers. Okay, yeah, Nirmale, you can take over if there is anything additional.
Thank you, Dhruva sir. Couple of things which I have just wanted to ask you. You mentioned that sectional cutoff thing, but uh, we were under the impression, and also in one of our panelists in the last session, she said that do not have sectional cutoffs. So there is a kind of confusion.
No. XLRI definitely has sectional cutoffs. The other allied institutes, depending on their situation, may or may not have sectional cutoffs. There is no sectional time limit. I hope you are not confusing with that.
Okay. Okay.
There is no sectional time limit. It's an open 170 minutes. You can roam through the sections, but there are definitely sectional cutoffs for XLRI admissions.
Okay.
Even
So
if you get overall 99 percentile, if you have scored less than 87.5 percentile in any of the three sections, there is a high chance you will not be called from XLRI.
great. So the clarity which we have just received from you is sectional timing. There is no limitations. You can jump from one section to another
Correct.
and back and forth, do back and forth or whatever. But cutoff will be there for XLRI, right?
Yes.
The other thing which I always wanted to know is many B schools they take both CAT scores and XAT scores, right? So let's say I'm applying to a particular B school where I have given both the scores, and that B school is supposed to take my best score. Like how will that be considered which is the best score for X and Y? How will it be compared?
Both the exams are, as I said, are almost equal in terms of
At
intelligence.
par.
Yes. So I would see it as whichever is a better percentile that you get will be accepted as the score for the other institutes. That is definitely sure that uh, uh, institutes which accept both CAT as well as that score, they have absolutely no bias towards any of these two exams. Whichever is your better score will be taken to decide on your status of call. So I think that should be the way.
Okay, good. So that answers the question. And do take a lot of mocks. Campus Sutra offers mocks to practice. And then we will also have a post ZAT paper analysis either on the ZAT day, that is 5th of January, that is the first Sunday of the new year, late night around 9 p.m., or maybe the next day, that is Monday, 6th of January, early morning. So we will announce that soon. And till then, all the best, everyone. And thank you once again, Dhruv.
I would like to add one thing. I don't know whether students have noted it down. So I hope everybody knows that ISB had started a YL program this year for people with 0 to 24 months of work experience. Their first round of applications ended on 15th of December, but they have now round two applications till March. Okay. So people who unfortunately did not have the best of CAT this year, uh, this is a world class institute that people definitely should try for round two. And therefore, if they can prepare and write GMAT in the next 2 months and can submit a good GMAT score in ISB YL, people still have a very good chance to go into a world class institute, India's best institute. The chance is not gone yet. ये लोग कैट 24 के स्कोर एक्सेप्ट कर रहे हैं, बट अगर आपका कैट 24 फिर भी अच्छा नहीं गया by chance, now that you know your results, they should definitely attempt for GMAT. GMAT is a paper which you can prepare in 2 months. तो अगर आप अभी जनवरी फरवरी एग्जाम प्रिपरेशन करके मार्च के फर्स्ट वीक में आप जीमैट देके आप अच्छे स्कोर ला देते हो, देन यू स्टैंड अ वेरी गुड चांस फॉर ISB YL. ठीक है, तो आई थिंक दैट इज समथिंग व्हिच स्टूडेंट शुड नॉट, द कैंपस सूत्रा पीपल हु those who are attending this session should definitely keep in mind.
That's a great piece of information, I think, and we will also try to promote that in our future stories and posts. Till then, I think let us focus on that. And as you said, patience is the key. And let's not jump from one to another, and let's not get panicked.
Correct.
And we will have a ZAT analysis, and also we will follow up with the kind of GDPI questions which can be expected from some of the top B schools. We will take samples of top B schools. It's not possible to cover all the B schools, but of course we will take a few samples which broadly should be okay, for all categories and all bandwidths of B schools. Correct. So till then, thank you so much. Anything you want to add? Maybe all. If we have any queries, we'll pass on to you. Till then, have a great weekend. Thank you so much once again.
Thank you.